course, we have to make sure that the killer is brought to justice. And importantly, we have to talk about this incredibly destructive movement of left-wing extremism that has grown up over the last few years, and I believe is part of the reason why Charlie was killed by an assassin's bullet. We're going to talk about how to dismantle that and how to bring real unity that can only come when we tell the truth and everybody knows that they can speak their mind about the issues of the day without being cut down by a murderer's gun. We're going to talk about all of those things with friends of Charlie, with people in the administration, with people that he knew.
I don't know if I'm necessarily ready for unity yet. I see a lot of people online who are calling for unity, but those aren't the people who end up on a killer's hit list. You know, I've seen Matt Walsh say, we're not ready to talk about unity. My name's on a list. And it was within hours of Charlie Kirk's death that the left-wing lunatics, even here in Alberta, they were saying, well, Danielle Smith should be next. The drag queen that subjected a United Conservative Party candidate to a struggle session, Carla Marks, that was the drag queen's name. The MLA was named Jennifer Johnson. That drag queen had said, okay, great. Now Danielle Smith next. So,
oh my God.
It's horrendous.
You know, freedom of speech is easy in easy cases. It gets tough in tough cases. And you have to sometimes think, well, what is the pith and substance of it? Is a death threat really about political expression, or is it something different? Is it violence? If you just muse about it and say, oh, I wish he were dead, that's not a death threat, but it is so gross. I don't think someone should be prosecuted under criminal law for saying, I wish someone were dead, or even I wish someone were killed. That's odious, that's gross. But I just think that we have to tolerate it as free speech. But we don't have to tolerate it in other ways. We can marginalize these people. If someone were to say that, and that person would have the power of life and death in other circumstances, for example, if someone were a nurse or someone were a doctor, and they were to say that they were for the death or harm of another individual for political reasons, could a patient ever trust that doctor or nurse? I think that there's a real question about it. So should a doctor or nurse who says, I want to have an assassination of a conservative leader, should that doctor or nurse be put in a position where they have that power over someone who may be a conservative? That's a real question. I mean, we hate when people are deplatformed just for free speech. I think of our friend Amy Ham in British Columbia, who was sacked by the College of Nurses. They said she's no longer allowed to be a nurse because she had some opinions about transgender people. She's never had a complaint about her before. That's obviously political censorship. But what about if someone outright calls for murder? But here's something that the United States seems to be doing. And after thinking about it through a free speech lens, I totally agree. Here's what I mean, Sheila. In fact, Olivia, can you find that British singer who created the chant "Death, Death to the IDF"? And he just came out with a new chant about Charlie Kirk. Have you seen that?
Yeah, I forget his name.
I forget his name, and I don't want to know his name well enough to remember it. He should be forgotten in the sands of time. But he makes, and again, vulgarity. I like to swear every now and then, and I don't think there's anything particularly wrong with a rock concert having a bunch of swearing, and I don't even think there's anything wrong with a rock concert having a bunch of politics. But the absolute gross revelry over the murder. Yeah, here it is. Bob Vylan is the name. Obviously, that's not the real name.
Little on the nose.
It's a duo. It's a knockoff of Bob Dylan, of course. So this band calls itself Bob Vylan. Watch this video, and then, Olivia, I'm going to call on you for his bullshit non-apology. Here, let's take a look.
I want to dedicate this next one to an absolute piece of shit of a human being. The pronouns were. Because if you chat shit, you will get banned. Rest in Peace, Charlie Kirk, you piece of shit. Oh, shit.
Yeah. So,
Palestinian flag in the background
of
too.
course,
Like,
I mean, so that guy, and I just swore a moment ago, so I can't knock a guy for saying the word shit. So he is reveling. He is jubilant. He is whipping up a crowd. He's normalizing political violence. But here's the most important part of this. Sheila, he's a foreigner. He's not an American. But if you can believe it, he tours outside of the UK. And so apparently, and this is if I understand things correctly, and correct me if I'm wrong. So I think if I understand things correctly, he was going to have a tour in the United States. And his permission to enter the country has been revoked, if I'm understanding the news correctly, and someone jump in if I'm not. So he made this grudging non-apology. Take a look at it. We'll play it just for a second. Libby, I think I saw you had it. Take a look.
Yo, real quick. At no point during yesterday's show was Charlie Kirk's death celebrated.
what?
At no point whatsoever did we celebrate Charlie Kirk's death. I did call him a piece of shit. That much is true. But at no point was his death celebrated. If it was, go find me a quote, go find me something that proves that we were celebrating his death. You're not going to find it because it didn't happen. What did happen is one reporter that bought their ticket online.
You know what? We don't need to hear more from the liar. We
Just-
literally just saw
Right.
it from the was, were, to the get banged, to the rest. I'm not going to.
I don't need him to send me a legally authenticated memo that says, I hereby declare that I am celebrating Charlie's death.
Yeah.
There are lots of different ways
Right.
that you can do that. And he obviously did. Hey, I know you want to add something to that, but I just want to show you what normal people did in Edmonton. So we've seen the worst of the musicians.
Right.
But in Edmonton on Saturday night, it would have been Morgan Wallen, country star, honestly, and not known to keep his opinions to himself when it comes to his conservatism. He's run afoul of the cancel culture mob himself, and then he went on to, I think he won a Grammy or a CMA right after, so it didn't actually work. Commonwealth Stadium is where the Elks, now they're called,
that's
play.
the big
so
stadium. That's the biggest one in
that's
Edmonton.
the big
if I'm
girl.
not mistaken. Yeah.
It's huge. This is what they did this is what Morgan Wallen did, and this is what Edmontonians did. And I should note, Morgan Wallen is, of the younger genre of country music. So this isn't your old fogies like me. This is young people's country music, and this is what happened at Commonwealth Stadium.
It's been hitting me harder in the last couple of days, and I just wanted to let Erica Kirk know that me and my family are sending prayers her way. Y'all sing it with me if you know. And I said I ain't gonna pick nothing. I'm a little crazy, but the world's insane. I keep a loaded 44 sitting by the bed.
All right, I missed the introduction. It was a little fuzzy for me to hear. What did he say?
He said it's hit him harder the last couple of days, and he was sending out his prayers to Erica Kirk and the family.
That's a normal human response. I mean,
exactly.
It's okay to shut up about it. There's a reason our parents use the phrase, if you have nothing nice to say nothing at all. You don't have to have a false testimony of your love for a foreign activist in another country. You're not compelled to have an opinion on it. And if you have a harsh opinion, you have the right to keep it to yourself. So it's not like people are going around and pressing people to say something. So imagine how gross you are. And Bob Vylan, what a loser. In the UK, I mentioned a moment ago that 1,000 people showed up at the vigil for Charlie Kirk. But I still maintain that Charlie Kirk is not a household name in the UK. They do have Turning Point UK, they do. But it is not a dominant force like it is in America. So Bob Vylan probably didn't have an opinion about Charlie Kirk until 10 minutes ago. There was no compelling reason for him to weigh in. He's just a disgusting human being. In fact, can you grab me another Bob Vylan clip, Olivia? He was saying something about, oh, you want your country back, you're not going to have it, or your country is crap, or so. There was something just so shockingly anti-British, just so. I mean, he's a nihilist. But here's my point, and I'm finally closing it. So he's a Brit, and by the way, if you were to say such a thing about let's say Islam in the UK, you'd
Right.
get arrested for a non-crime hate incident. But he's a Brit. And America has an absolute right to keep out anyone they want for any reason or no reason. That's just one of the things about countries. And so every person who does what Bob Vylan, I should use his real name, I forget it. It's so stupid saying Bob Vylan, but he's a stupid guy. Everyone loves to go to America. You know who loves to go to America the most? People who hate America. Because they don't actually hate America. They just hate the fact that America is strong and proud and free, but they love going there for its wealth, for its energy, for its cities, for its everything. Who in the world, I mean, Cubans, Soviets, Muslim leaders around the world who rule dictatorships. Everyone loves going to America. So Bob Vylan, and I feel the urge. I just came back from the UK, Sheila, so I got all these swears in my head because they love to
Let it
pepper
go.
things with swears over there. And I'm not going to say the most devastating swear, which comes up a lot over there. Let Bob Vylan stay out of the United States forever, because why should the United States bring into its bosom someone who indirectly seems to support political violence, either past or future? And the reason that is not super obvious, and then it feels even like a revelation for me to say it, is because we have indeed tolerated violence from so many groups in perpetuity. Antifa, Black Lives Matter. We just, even these Hamas protesters in our streets the last 2 years, we have tolerated a violence and a threat of violence that we would not from the Cosa Nostra, from the Mafia, from the Hells Angels, from biker gangs. If you were to say things like Bob Vylan, if you were to say, oh, that cop got shot, haha, well, the next one you better watch. Like if you were to glorify violence and just take the politics out of it, people would be grossed out. But we have normalized the left overwhelmingly pumping out threats of violence. And why shouldn't the United States make a massive list of every loser around the world who's jumping on the bandwagon? And it's not because the president was friends with Charlie Kirk or the president is respecting his widow. It's because why on earth would you let into your country people who are celebrating a horrific hate crime, a murder, an assassination, a terrorist act? Maybe you have to put up with that from your own citizens because your First Amendment gives them wide latitude. You're allowed to be outrageous and super gross and impolite as an American, but Bob Vylan is not an American. He should not be allowed into America to give moral support to murderers. And I wouldn't say that about an American citizen, but a foreigner, go to hell. Keep talking to your bands in the UK. Keep doing it there. They seem to abide it there.